This week's edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight is brought to you by Leff Atlanta Media, Atlanta's best journalist database. Subscribe at leffsatlantamedia.com. Welcome to the next edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. We are talking today with Libby Allnatt with What Now Atlanta. Libby, did I say your name correctly? I want to make sure I did that right.
Yes, Libby Allnatt,
Okay,
you
good.
did.
Okay,
Thank you. I
Libby,
appreciate you checking.
Good. I should have asked that before we started recording.
Oh, good.
I have some clients who have some challenging sounding names because they're from different countries or something, and I will literally sometimes I will record an audio for a reporter saying, "Here's how you say this person's name," because you want to say it correctly on air, right?
Yeah, that's smart. A lot of times, if I'm not sure to pronounce like a business owner's name or their business name, I'll go to their social media to see if they have a video of them saying it because I don't want to sound like really silly mispronouncing it.
Right, right. Or I'll spell it out phonetically for people, that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
Libby is not too much of a problem doing
Yeah,
phonetically. So
Libby's pretty simple. Not too
Libby's,
common, but simple enough.
yeah,
Mhm.
there we go. So Libby, tell us about What Now. What is What Now Atlanta all about?
Yeah, so What Now specializes in pre-opening brick and mortar news. So we mostly cover restaurants. We're expanding a little bit more into covering retail and commercial real estate news in Atlanta as well. That's been doing pretty well, but we mostly cover restaurants. We're actually in 33 different cities, but Atlanta was our flagship one. We just expanded into Canada, which is exciting. So I'm used to saying 31 cities, but now it's 33 because now we're in Canada as well. So yeah, the goal is just to post about upcoming restaurants and be the first to report about new businesses, whether it's a brand new business opening their first restaurant or an existing one opening new locations and things like that.
And you do like retail, similar kind of thing with retail as well, correct?
Yeah, so gyms, salons, all sorts of things like that. I did one recently about like a children's birthday party venue. Retail kind of encompasses everything that's not food and beverage focused. So it has kind of a wide net. So I found that retail has been fun and commercial real estate's interesting too. So that's definitely my smallest area of expertise compared to the others. But there's so many different like mixed use developments and apartment complexes. And there's just so much to that. So I always find those stories really interesting too. But our bread and butter is, pardon the pun, is restaurants. But yeah, we've expanded to that other stuff
That's
too.
good. Bread and
Cool.
butter. Your bread and butter is that's good. That's good. We
Thanks. I
could
didn't plan that,
you
I promise.
you probably have a whole plethora of food related introduction jokes already said, right?
Yeah, I try to. I actually even like my email folders, I try to use like food and restaurant related sort of things. So I do back burner for things that like our stories need to follow up on. I sort things into scooped, like ice cream scoops when it's something that I found
There you go.
myself. So I try to use food related stuff in my folders just to keep it fun. Got to keep it interesting.
That's good. Over boiling over. You can have all kinds of. Oh,
That's a good one.
there you
I'm
go.
actually
There you
writing that down.
go.
That's very clever.
Oh, I'm full of dad jokes. So tell us a little bit about. So you said what now started in Atlanta, correct?
Yes, and it expanded into pretty quickly a bunch of cities from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and does each city have its own person like you, or do you manage multiple?
So I manage a few different writers. We have a lot of freelancers, but we're actually transitioning into having more full-time people such as myself, because it's really beneficial to have people covering the cities that they actually live in and where they're a little bit more enmeshed, where they know the geography. I'm not originally from here, but I moved here a few years ago for this role. And it's just been so nice to actually be in the community that I'm covering and know the restaurants I'm talking about, know the major players I'm talking about. But yeah, we have a network of writers across the country who cover all the different cities.
So I'm gonna remind me. I want to ask you. I want to kind of talk about how do you find out these things. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what is your kind of your journalistic background that got you to where you are. What's kind of the path that got
Yeah,
you here?
good question. So yeah, I studied journalism at the Walter Cronkite School in Arizona, at Arizona State. And I actually started in newspapers. So I was a copy editor for about 6 years at Gannett, the newspaper company. And so what I did was I edited content for different newspapers under their umbrella. And my main role there was there's a page in USA Today called 50 States. And so my job was to compile that page and find an interesting story or news tidbit from each of the 50 states. So it's kind of like a race against the clock each day to find 50 stories, quickly edit them down, and think about what would be really interesting to people. So that's what, when I ended it, that's what my role was, which is really cool. And then,
Yeah, I think I probably, I don't know if it was you or another editor. We did some, you go through phases where you have something that fits that kind of thing. So we would be looking at that going, how do we get into the 50 states? And we had a couple of years where we really worked hard to kind of get into the little survey kind of info about what were they called? Kind of the survey boxes that were on like front page of each section, the
yeah,
little data boxes kind of things.
yeah, like little
Like
snapshots. Yeah,
snapshots,
yeah,
snapshot.
yeah,
That's the word. That's what
mhm,
that's what I was trying to remember. Snapshots. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
from
That was
Gannett,
cool. Yeah. So from Gannett, when I was there, I did some freelancing and I did some business news. So I freelanced for a site called Daily Coffee News. I love coffee shops, and that's kind of like my thing. So I wrote about new coffee shops and just things in the specialty coffee industry. And from there, I just got really interested in business news and spotlighting business owners and doing features on them. It was just really interesting to me. And then I heard about this role covering restaurants in Atlanta. So that's kind of how I transitioned from a very traditional newspapery editing role to more on the ground reporting and just restaurant news as a whole.
how long have you been with what now at this point?
I started in 2023. So I started as the What Now Atlanta reporter, which I still am. And then over the last year, I've transitioned into more of an editor role where I oversee all of our different sites and the different writers and help them with their stories and just kind of basically do quality control on all of our content and have a role with. I really enjoy managing people and like working with people and being a resource to them. So I kind of transitioned into that in addition to my reporting.
So if someone has an Atlanta story, would they go to you, or is there another writer that they would go to?
So I'm the only Atlanta writer
Okay,
for now. So anything
okay,
Atlanta coverage, I'm going to be your gal. So I'm going to be the byline on the
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, I just
yeah.
want to, I want to just kind of double check that for our viewers and listeners, so they don't go looking for somebody else who isn't there, right?
Yeah.
So what's your trick? I mean, yeah, obviously you want to kind of be ahead of the game in terms of figuring out, you know, hey, this restaurant is opening or this retail place is opening it. And if you don't want to give away the secret, then don't give away the secret. But, what kind of generally, how do you kind of stay ahead of that, knowing what's coming?
Question. Yeah. So there's so many different ways to find things, and I find it gets easier as you get more enmeshed in it. A lot of it, honestly, just going through documents and all that kind of stuff, which sounds boring, but it's actually really interesting. It kind of feels like a scavenger hunt sometimes to just comb through different things like permits and all that kind of stuff. So that's what most of my day is just going through documents and things like that and just looking for anything that seems like a restaurant. But then as you get to know people, whether it's restaurant owners or PR people, you hear about things just from word of mouth as well, and just press releases, things like that. So there's so many different avenues to find things. So my day is just kind of circling through all those different avenues to find stuff to cover.
The companies like try to figure out ways to hide it. Like if like, okay, we're not ready to announce it yet, so we're going to call this file, we're going to call ourselves something different on a filing or something.
Yeah, good question. So that happens sometimes. Like, obviously, like if you're opening a business, you might want to be a little bit mysterious and want to keep under wraps until you're ready to officially open it. So I can see how sometimes media who wants to break that story could be viewed as kind of like the enemy because we're trying to like get your
Yeah.
secrets. I think that's how people see it sometimes. Um, but the way I see it is we're basically here just to amplify what is coming to people's neighborhoods and get them excited about it. I like to think of what now, like, like that friend who always seems to know what's going on. Like, oh, did you hear about that restaurant on this corner? Did you hear about this place that opened here? Like, that's kind of like what now is to me.
Right, right.
Um,
That's good. Well, it's
yeah,
funny because I know sometimes we'll have, we working when we don't do like exclusively restaurants, but we do work with restaurants sometimes, and be like, okay, we're going to open this new location next year, but we don't want to really talk about it yet. There's always a little bit of a strategy to it. It's like you don't want to talk about it too soon because if people can't go there, then there's no point if you're not hiring for staff yet. So you want to wait a little bit. So sometimes we'll talk to media outlet and who's kind of digging and say, okay, just wait a little bit. We'll give you a little bit of a scoop on it if you want it, you know, at a certain point, you know, because sometimes, if you got to buy land, it's one thing if you could they already own the land or if they're subletting it, but if they're buying land, then cat's out of the bag, right?
Totally. Yeah. Timing is always one of those things you really have to balance. It's that classic journalistic question of being first versus all the other things you want to keep in mind. Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to burn someone that really trusts you. So it's important just to build those relationships and let people know, like, hey, I'm here when you do want to amplify it more. Like, I do have this information. It is publicly available. I always try to let business owners know, like, if they're hearing from me, they're probably going to start hearing from other reporters soon if they haven't already, if the information's out there. So they might as well share it with someone that they trust and someone who's just interested in getting the word out there about their business. But yeah, that's always a balance for sure.
Yeah, I know the Chronicle often does kind of a similar kind of thing. They'll be perusing the permits and filings to kind of
Mhm.
see. I think the AJC does some of that with at a certain level on probably bigger projects. I don't usually see those guys kind of breaking restaurant opening kind of news, but like bigger bigger development, they'll be looking for filings and information on that. But that's good. That's good to know. Um, are there? uh, I mean, I guess kind of. Do you feel like you compete with the Business Chronicle to some extent, or a little bit?
I think I kind of view it as there's a lot of different players in the Atlanta media scene, as I'm sure you know. And we kind of all have our niche. There's definitely overlap. So, what now is so specialized with pre-opening brick and mortar news? Like
Right.
that's our niche. We don't really cover anything else. We're expanding into some other coverage that's interesting to readers, but that's kind of, again, our bread and butter. The Chronicle and the AJC, they cover a lot of different business developments and even beyond that. But that's kind of like our niche in a way. So obviously you want to be first and be quick on things. And that's kind of what our goal is, just like any news outlet. But I think every outlet has like their strengths and the different things that they cover. So I don't think about it too much. My goal is just to be as quick as I can on each
Yeah.
thing that I cover and not think too much about the other outlets.
Yeah, you don't want to be that. Sometimes you'll see a story is like somebody there's a permit for a new business or a new company that's going to go in here, and we think sources tell us that it's this company, but we're not we're not sure yet, but we're gonna write about it even though we're not sure yet. And
Mhm.
I always every once in a while I go back and look at those a year or two later and say, okay, how many of those were wrong?
Yeah, a lot of things fall through. And because I
Yeah.
have like that traditional journalism school background, I'm so paranoid about not reporting anything unless it is like so solid. But obviously in the restaurant business, so many things change. Like plans change, plans fall through. Someone might be planning a restaurant and then they might pull out. Like there's so many different factors to things. So all we can really do is report on the information that we have at any given time and verify it and go from there.
I feel like sometimes companies will, it's almost like a testing the waters. They'll
Yeah.
do a filing and kind of see, okay, how are potential investors or partners or customers going to react to us teasing that we're going to open this new project? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, wasn't there like there've been a couple of like projects in North Atlanta where people are like, oh, we're going to buy this land and build like this gigantic sports complex and bring a hockey team to Atlanta,
Oh yeah.
right?
That's
And
a
like,
big.
okay, I don't think that's quite happened yet, has it?
Yeah, and what I've learned in this industry is things always take longer than you think they will. So a lot of times owners will have kind of an ambitious plan of, oh, we're going to open by May or we're going to open by June. But the most common answer I hear when I'm asking people when they're targeting their opening is they say, oh, it depends on the city. Everyone says the permitting process always takes so much longer than they think.
Yeah.
Alcohol licensing takes longer than they think. So that's a big thing I've learned is the timeline's always longer than you expect when you're starting a business.
Well, yeah, especially when food and alcohol is involved, when you're dealing with like this county versus city of Atlanta versus this
Yeah.
smaller city, it's you can have backlogs and other
Yeah.
logistical issues. Um, and then weather, weather plays a part in construction.
Yeah.
I've had clients say, "Oh, we're going to open this, second week in May." I'm like, well, instead of saying second week in May, why don't we just say spring?
Yes.
and that
Uh-huh.
gives us a little bit of leeway, or fall 2025,
Yeah,
just
that's a
to,
common one I hear. Like sometime this summer, or hopefully by the end of the year. That's always a really safe bet.
yeah, and usually journalists, I mean, journalists like you who are in the industry, they understand when you say fall, you're saying that because you're 8 months out and you have, permitting, weather, construction, all of that has to happen. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll come back later and we'll say, okay, we've solidified it a little more. Here's the soft opening, here's the grand opening, and you kind of work out the details as you get closer. But a year out, it's sometimes challenging to say, here's exactly when this restaurant's going to open or this retailer. Um, are there some topics that you looking ahead, are there issues or kind of trends that you're seeing that you want to cover?
Good question. I think I would like to just continue expanding our retail and real estate coverage. I think we've really mastered the restaurant stuff, and there's just so many restaurants to cover, which is it definitely keeps things interesting. I think there's so much potential with more retail business. Like I said, retail encompasses so many different things. It's basically anything. So I think I'm just excited to keep seeing what different sort of niche things people can come up with, whether they're like different entertainment concepts or different hangout spots, like things like that. I just think something I've really seen in this role is people are so creative with the different businesses and ideas that they come up with. So I think I'm just interested in seeing the different things that people start to bring to fruition. It's cool.
What is your, yeah, you probably see this, there's kind of a life cycle for restaurants very often. What is the kind of the average or typical life cycle for a restaurant? And or does it, I mean, I'm not talking like fast food kind of thing, but like a probably not even fast casual, but more casual dining kind of sit down.
Yeah, good question. You know what? I feel like it just depends. There's so much variation. Like there's places that are staples to their city for decades, and they stay in the family.
Right.
And then there's places that are open for a couple months, and then it becomes something else. And I think there's so much variation based on location, kind of what people are interested in at a particular time. Like I feel like right now, cookies are popular, like crumble and things like that. And then I feel like a while ago, like in the 2010s, froyo was like a popular thing. So I feel like I have this theory that there's always like a particular fun food that people are interested in at the time. So I think just consumer taste change. So yeah, I think it just totally depends.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was never like the yogurt places never they never caught me because they were just so expensive.
Really
The
expensive.
weigh your yogurt kind of thing, right? Hey,
Yeah.
you weigh it and then you go in there with your kids and they start dumping stuff on there. All of a sudden
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
yogurt is like $12. I'm like, what? How much is that? $12
Yeah.
for my yogurt?
Yeah. You can get a pint of
Okay.
ice cream at the grocery store for so much cheaper. It'll probably
Right,
taste.
right, right. But the kids
Yeah.
like it because they can put the, worms on there and
Yeah.
whatever else they want to put on there.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So let's jump to the really, this is the hardest question I always ask folks is what's something cool or different about Libby? And this, the kind of the umbrella is what's the coolest thing about you? But what's something kind of cool and fun about you that people might not know about?
Ooh, a lot of people might know this because it's kind of my main personality trait. But like I said, I do love coffee shops. And I actually have an Instagram page where I review local shops and post what I'm drinking. And it's been a fun way to connect with other people in Atlanta too, because there's so many coffee shops here. So I've been able to meet some people through that page, which is always really fun. So yeah, that's kind of my main thing. I love making different coffee drinks at home and just visiting different shops. So I'd say that's definitely kind of my fun fact, my little side thing that I like to do.
So is that a coffee blog or podcast?
Yeah, it's on Instagram. Yeah, so I just
Yeah.
post pictures of where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you gotta share the address for that.
yeah. I'll give you a shameless plug for the handle. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
ATL Caffeine Queen is the
Oh, that's
name.
great. ATL.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. It was SLC Caffeine Queen when I lived in, or no, Utah Caffeine Queen when I lived in Utah, which is where I moved from. And I
Well, you're
changed it
you're
to ATL.
franchise you're franchising it, right? So now
Yeah,
you
yes,
now you have three different caffeine queens around the
yes,
country.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So it's
had
kind of a fun fact.
I had somebody I interviewed last year. Her fun thing was she photographs like mattresses abandoned by the side of the road,
Oh,
and
that's niche.
she had a Facebook page of like I don't remember what it's called, like mattresses of Atlanta or something like that.
Oh, I love that. That's like very niche. I kind of
I
want to look
know.
and follow it.
I was like, that is so fun. You know, she's like, yeah, I'll see a mattress by the side of the road and I'll lean out, take a picture. It's like, okay,
Oh, I
that's
love that
fun.
idea. Now
It's
I feel
fun.
like I'm
That's
gonna notice mattresses if I see them on the side of the road.
yeah. Well, and I'm trying to remember. I think her family had been in the mattress business at some point,
Oh,
so there was like a family connection to it in some
yeah.
way. But it's like, okay, that's fun. That's fun. All right.
That's
So the next couple is kind of the lightning round. So you don't have to give me like long answers, but just kind of quick answers to the next couple of questions. So first one is last book you've read or the last podcast you've listened to, and the podcast can't be one of your own podcasts.
okay. Good question. Let's see. I'm gonna do podcasts. I like reading though too.
Okay.
There's a fun podcast I listen to every Monday called Here to Help. And it's these two guys who they give people advice on very niche and specific problems. And it just cracks me up. Like I'll feel embarrassed when I listen to it at the gym because I'll start laughing. It's so funny. So I'm waiting for me to have like a very niche problem that I can write into them about, but it doesn't happen yet.
Um, Next one, favorite local restaurant.
Ooh, I really like 26 Thai. I like the pad Thai there. I first had it at their Battery location, and then there's they have a few locations across Atlanta, and there's one really close to me. So I'd say that's probably my favorite. I'm gonna cheat and give you a coffee shop answer too. Peoplestown Coffee is my favorite. I go there constantly. They have a really good cookie butter latte and Perk coffee. That's another one that I just love. It's always just such a fun experience. Their baristas are so nice. They have the best latte. So.
Where's Perk?
They have a few locations. So there's one in Chastain Park, one in Virginia Highland, one in Tucker. I believe they have 5 or 6. So there's a couple. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Um, Favorite guilty pleasure.
Ooh, I'd have to say I love a sweet treat. So I love a pastry, a donut, a scone, candy, anything like that. I definitely have a sweet tooth. I try to eat somewhat healthy, but I'd say like a good pastry can't go wrong with.
Do you have a favorite donut place?
Ooh, I really love Five Daughters Bakery. They have a couple locations across
Yeah.
Atlanta. There's
Yeah.
one at Ponce, one in Alpharetta. Those croissant donuts with like the different layers are just so good. I always get the purest one, just the vanilla. They're so good. I love them.
Um, what's a favorite local getaway that you like?
Ooh,
And by local, it could be north, you know, anywhere in Georgia is fine.
okay. This isn't too far from Atlanta, but I really like Covington, Georgia. I'm a huge fan of The Vampire Diaries, which is a show that was filmed there. So the first time I came to Atlanta, I was like, I have to go to Covington. It was like a bucket list thing for me, and see the square where they filmed so much of
Right.
it. And then I obviously walked around the neighborhoods to find the houses where they filmed it. So I probably was being really creepy that day. I think Covington is super cool. It's also just a cool little town for like a good fall day.
Right.
So yeah, I love Covington, Georgia.
Have you been down to the town of Trilith down in Fayetteville?
Yes, uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool down
That's
there.
yeah, that's really cool. I love what they've done down there, and they do a good tour of the studio too.
Mhm.
Um, okay, favorite non-work hobby.
I love reading. I also love running. I try to run every day. I know it's so annoying when people are like, I just love exercise. It's like, shut up. But I genuinely really do love exercise and running. I think it's a good way to kind of shake off the day after I've been at my computer all day. Just get a good run in and a good sweat. So definitely running.
Listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing that, right?
Yes, exactly. And then start laughing and feel embarrassed.
Yeah. People, you're running and laughing hysterically, and people look at you. Why is she laughing?
Like, like
What's
is
so
that
funny? What
girl?
is so
She's
funny
good.
there?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's see. Before I forget, what's the URL for what now that people should look for if they want to find it?
Yeah, so we actually just moved over to one singular domain. So we used to be whatnowatlanta.com, whatnowphoenix.com. Now you can find all of our content on whatnow.com, which is super exciting.
Okay, and then you just link to the city that you want.
Yep. So
Yeah.
everything goes to
Okay.
one homepage, and then there's different cities that you can sort by if you're looking for a particular one.
Okay. And are you guys kind of putting content on every day, every week, or whenever it happens, that kind of thing?
Yeah, every day. So we have a pretty high turnover for our stories. So we're usually posting a couple stories a day, if not up to a dozen or more. In Atlanta, we usually have a couple a day. But yeah, across all of our cities, we were just constantly putting content up.
Cool. Anything else that I haven't asked about that you want to mention about you or what now?
I don't think so. I'm just really excited about all the fun developments with What Now, with becoming one website and expanding into Canada. There's just a lot of growth that's happened in a short amount of time for it, which is just really cool. And it's fun to be one piece of the puzzle, being the Atlanta part of it. So yeah, I'm just excited to see how it continues to grow.
Very good. All right. We've been talking with Libby Allnatt with What Now Atlanta. Libby, thank you so much for being with us for a few minutes today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was so excited for this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very good. And as always, you can find our Four Questions Journalist Spotlights on YouTube for the video format or on anywhere you get audio podcasts, also Apple, Google, Spotify, Deezer, all of those kinds of places. We feed out through Buzzsprout, so it goes everywhere. And then, of course, if you want to find our Left's Atlanta Media database of journalists in Atlanta, go to leftsatlantamedia.com and you can sign up for that and you get the database and you also get our Mitch's Media Musings monthly newsletter and blog and all kinds of fun templates that'll help you do PR if you're not as familiar with doing that. All righty. Very good. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.